Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all an update to my Cardfight Vanguard Orfist deck profile for post-Dragon Masquerade. We got a few new cards for the Brant Gate Orfist deck in Dragon Masquerade. It's all a build-up to the upcoming support we have for the Orfist deck following set 12, and then also the new trial deck that we'll be getting for Orfist as well, being the main deck used by Sakuza in the anime. I'm definitely excited. I've had Orfist since the beginning of set 1 for Vanguard, so the fact that we're getting a Masks version, and he's also, shown to be what looks like the main antagonist for the new series, I'm definitely excited for that new support. But in the meantime, like I said, we got a few new cards for the Orfist deck, so updated it with some of the ratios that I have for the deck so far. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the starter, being our Cardinal Fang Phoebe, the standard when wrote upon, if you went second, draw a card. Our grade 1 is Cardinal Noid Rotis. When placed on Vanguard, search your deck for up to 1 world card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So just the standard search for one of the more important cards in the deck, being our, world set orders that we play. And for our grade 2, the 1 copy of Cardinal Noid Cubicia. When a world is put into your order zone, choose one of your units, and it gets plus 5,000 until end of turn. So you can even give your grade 2 Vanguard the plus 5 if need be, with our main go-to grade 3 still being the Cardinal Dominus Orfist Regis. Now, I believe we are getting a mask unit, so if we get a completely new grade 3 that's not the mask unit in the trial deck, I'll be curious to see if we still use this Orfist or if it's going to be the one in the trial deck. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what they plan to do. But on top of the ride deck copy, we also run 3 additional copies in the main deck as well. When it's placed on Vanguard, choose up to 1 world card from your hand or drop, put it into your order zone. And on Vanguard, when this unit attacks, if your world is Abyssal Dark Knight, counter +1, discard a card from your hand. And for every 2 world card in your order zone, call up to 1 Shadow Army token to rearguard, and they get plus 5,000 till end of battle. So this Orfist allows you to get the multiple attack power as well, being able to call additional Shadow Army tokens to your rearguard, or even over ones that have already attacked, or maybe even some of the other units that we run in the deck, and then gain additional card effects depending on what we called over with those other Shadow Army tokens. One of the more vital cards for that playstyle is the Cardinal Dragon Nuvaria. When this unit attacks on rearguard, it gets plus 2,000 till end of that battle for each world order in your order zone. And when this unit is retired from rearguard, if your world is Abyssal Dark Knight, you may call a Shadow Army token to rearguard. So let's say you have the Nuvaria on rearguard and you attack with it. Then you attack with your Vanguard and then retire it by calling a Shadow Army token over it. Then you can use the Nuvaria that was retired to call an additional Shadow Army token to the rearguard as well, with this card's ability giving you more and more of that rearguard setup. If you're calling out 2 from your Orfist, you can always call the additional Shadow Army token of Nuvaria behind the other Shadow Army token to provide an additional boost for that card also. And for the new grade 2s that I'm running in the deck, I'm running 3 copies. I may switch this around to 4. If I were to run 4 copies, I'll try dropping a copy of the Cardinal Dragon down for a 3 of count and run for this card, Cardinal Noid Grunder. When this unit is placed on rear from hand, if your world is Dark Knight or Abyssal Dark Knight, you may look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose up to 2 world cards from among them, and you looked, discard them, and shuffle your deck. And then at the end of the battle, this unit attack to Vanguard. If your world is Abyssal Dark Knight, retire this unit, choose a world card from your drop and put it into your hand. So this card gives you that recycle power, but what I also like about it is that it provides cards in your drop zone in the form of the world set cards for you to place with Orfist Regis. So my biggest problem was either having them in my hand and not having a proper way to get them into the drop zone, or just having the play that after this card attacked at the end of the battle, you can retire it and it'll also clear up your rearguard circle for you to call out another token onto the field with your Orfist Regis, since this unit will already be retired for using its ability to place a world set order back into your hand. Moving on now to the grade 1s. Don't really run too many of the grade 2s and 1s because the main power comes into play for the, beefed up Shadow Army tokens that you'll get on the field with the plus 5 power, whether it be from your Orfist Regis or your own world set orders. For the grade 1s, running 4 copies of Cardinal Principal Kagula when placed on rear. If your world is Dark Knight, you may soul charge 1. If it's Abyssal Dark Knight, you may soul charge 2. So more of the soul charge power for some of the other cards that are on the deck, relying on the the play, including itself. If your world is Abyssal Dark Knight, you can Soul Blast 1 and retire this unit to call a Shadow Army token to rearguard, making up for this grade 1 that already provided you with a Soul Charge by using one of those Soul Charge cards to call out another Shadow Army token onto the field. And if we use some of our orders, like our Overcoming in Eternity, when you play a Shadow Army token, it gets +5 until end of turn, and this ability will stack for all of the different Overcoming in Eternity you have in your order zone as well. Also running the 3 copies of the Cardinal Noid Thumberino. When this unit boosts a Shadow Army token, you may have this unit get +15 till end of turn. If you do at the end of the battle, retire all of your rear guards in the same column as this one and draw a card. So you also retire the Shadow Army token, but you get a draw out of it, which the Shadow Army token wasn't even a card you invested in your hand. The Thumberino might have been, but it provides a +15k boost, so 23 on its own, to whatever the power of the Shadow Army token might have been as well, and then giving you a draw so you have another card in your hand to make up for the field presence as well. With the last of the one-ups for, not one-ups, but the grade 1s that I run, aside from the Sentinel, 2 copies of the new Cardinal Principle Lore Field. When placed on rear from hand, if your world is Abyssal Dark Knight, Soul Blast 1 and call a Shadow Army token to rear in the same column as this unit. So it just gives you another Shadow Army token to use as well. You don't have to retire this unit as well. I'm only running 2 of this card though. It's a little more situational with the rear guard field presence that you can add, since the Shadow Army token will be the card with the more power on the field. The Cardinal Principle Lore Field will just have the 5k power on its own, but still just providing you when a placed skill for the Soul Blast 1, and you don't have to retire any other unit. It just gives you that Shadow Army token on the field. And you'll have the Soul Charge power thanks to Kagula to use this card quite easily, with the last of the grade 1s being 4 of the Sentinel. If you wanted to run Elementaria Sanctitude, you can just drop the 1 copy of Violate Dragon down for that Blitz order. And for our world set orders, running 4 copies of Hallowing Moonlit Night. You play it with a Soul Blast of 1. When it's put into the order zone, you draw a card, and then also it makes your Abyssal world, your world becomes Dark Knight if you have 1 card in your order zone. If it's 2 or more, it becomes Abyssal Dark Knight. So if you play this card from the drop zone off of Orfist Regis, you don't have to play with Soul Blast cost, but we have plenty of Soul Charge power, once again, thanks to Kagula. If we do need to play it from hand, just for an additional draw, so it makes up for the order we placed, but the more orders we have set up, the better as well. With the last one being 3 copies of Overcoming in Eternity. This could be a 4 of. If you want, you can just swap out 1 of the Moonlit Night for it as well. And also you play this one with a Soul Blast of 2, but once again, another better one if you could just place it into the order zone with Regis from the drop zone, which can easily be set up thanks to our new grade 2 as well. And then having the same Dark Knight or Abyssal Dark Knight, depending on how many orders we have in our order zone. And from the order zone, if you have a Shadow Army token placed, it gets +5 till end of turn. So if you have your 3 Overcoming Eternity, every time you call a Shadow Army token, it'll get the additional +5 for each one, so +15 total. With our trigger lineup being the 7 critical, so 4 copies of Star Aggression and 3 copies of Cardinal Draco Barbizon. If you have the ability trigger, you can always replace the Star Aggression Dragon for 4 copies of it, and 4 copies of Ameliorate Connector for the 5k draw trigger, Shield Plus as well. With our heal lineup being 2 copies of Cardinal Prima Nabalim, 1 copy of Creaking World, and the 1 copy of One Who Pierces the Transient Causality, with our overtrigger being the Elder Breath for the additional double power to all of our front row and critical double power as well. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy. Once again, I'm very excited for the new support we'll be getting on later this year for the Orfist deck as well. Just wanted an update with some of the newer support we had from the Dragon Masquerade booster set. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.